Hello, amazing artist. I know that you have started your castles and we've got some really good ideas that we've seen in other videos, and some of us are coming up with our own, but it's a little bit tricky to keep all your castle parts the same size. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to use these castle parts. These are just tracers that are different sizes for your castle, and so that you can go from maybe you, like me, have something really small here, and we know that things that are small can be pretty hard to paint. So if I want it to be a little bit larger, I can use the templates, and this is an example of one of the templates. Don't worry, in another video we'll talk about how to add some of the details, but just for today we're going to talk about adding your templates. Now, some of you had your castle maybe up on a hill like this one, or some people drew their castle with a moat and a bridge. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a little bit of I think I'm going to have a little bridge right here. So to prepare for that, I'm going to use this piece right here, the facade in the front, and I'm going to actually trace that whole thing. And this is the only one that I'm going to trace the top and the bottom, in addition to the sides. So that's going to be my entryway. That's where I'm going to put my castle door. Now, I am using an ink pen. You guys are going to want to start with pencils. I would say, you know, if you prefer really sharp, fine. I kind of prefer it to be a little bit dull so I can sketch, and so I can erase easily. Sometimes the sharper ones really don't let me erase very well. So these tools are in the cups on your table, and then if you really prefer a different tool, you can let me know and we can see what we can figure out for you. So here's my facade that's going to have my castle door. It doesn't make any sense right now because I don't have my door, but let's say, you know, I was going to add a castle door here, then, you know, that's the beginning of that. But since that's one of the details I will work on later, I'm going to go ahead and draw a bridge. And what's going to happen is, in order to make it look like the bridge is getting more and more narrow as we get close to it, I'm going to draw my lines going out like that. Later I'll add some lines across the bridge that will look maybe like some, you know, wooden planks across the bridge. I'll show you how to do that whenever we get into the details. Now, if I was drawing using the templates, and I'm not saying that you have to, what you're going to find are a template for castle sides, for a medium-sized tower, and for a very small tower, a more of a narrow tower. So when you're using these, you'll see that other people have made little marks on the templates to change the size. So maybe they didn't want it quite this tall, so maybe they only drew a line to there and they wanted to remember that, so they put a little dot on both sides. So then that would line up right next to this, so I don't have to trace again. I want it right next to the line I already have. And then since I'm going to make it a bit shorter than the full size of the template, you don't have to make it shorter, you can make it the full size. I just know that I'll run out of room up here, so I'm not going to trace the bottom or the top right now because I'm adding some other things in. Also going to do the same thing here. This was my little line that I used before, and it's totally okay to mark that with your pencil if you're trying to remember where you're going there. So now I've got balance here. I've got both of my medium towers here. I think I'll add a castle side over here. So again, I'm not going to trace the top or the bottom, but I am going to save myself some time and line this up with the line that I already have so that I don't have to trace that again. And then I'll just trace, I'll trace this side and I'll trace this side. I'm not going to trace the tops or the bottoms. One of the reasons why is because I'm going to have these rounded so that they look three-dimensional, so that they look like they're coming out, like a rounded tower instead of a flat tower. And you can do the same thing on either. Now, some people find this a little bit tricky and they like to use a tool to make that line, and that's okay for you to do that. when I do that, sometimes I just borrow the cup from the table. It tends to be the perfect size. You just have to empty your contents, and then the bottom of the cup kind of works out perfectly for the medium tower. So I'll just trace that. So I've got that rounded, and then if you wanted to have, look at all that dust inside there. Okay, and then if you wanted to have this one, then you're gonna use the bigger side for the castle side, the bigger part of the cup for the castle side. And then basically I have the same thing that I had here. And you might want to practice that a couple of times on practice paper just to make sure that you like it, or if it doesn't work out, since you have a pencil, you can erase. I can't erase my mistakes today because I'm using a pen, so that's okay. Now I'm going to leave a little space over here maybe for some trees or something else, and since this is going to be water, I'll make it just a little bit of a bumpy line. So this is my foreground, and this is very, very basic, using the castle parts. Now if I wanted to add a tower in here, or even in here, in fact I think I will. I think I'll go back and maybe go ahead and make this the full size after all. Okay, and then I'll make this one the full size as well. And I'm just feeling that now that everything's bigger, I have a little bit more room for some of my details, and I can have space to draw and space to paint later.